Ai, kau di luar kanwai oleh-oleh.
To know the Hawaiian soul, one must first know the land, the Aina, the deep connections between place, kin, and history. The chant and voice you are hearing celebrate these understandings. Nowhere is the expressive tie to the land of one's birth more apparent than with this Kama'aina native born. Mary, Abigail, Kawena ula o kalani a hi'iaka I kapole o pele, kawahine ai honua na lele hua a pele, Wiggin Pukui. Mary Kawena Pukui is Hawaii's foremost living cultural authority, linguist, storyteller, composer, translator, genealogist, teacher, and kumu hula or hula master. Throughout her lifetime, Kawena has authored or co-authored some 52 books and articles, composed over 150 songs and chants, and received numerous awards and degrees. Kawena's stewardship of Hawaiian culture is reflected in her splendorous name, itself a Hawaiian mele or poem. As she herself translates it, the rosy glow in the sky made by Hi'iaka in the bosom of Pele, the earth-consuming woman, the crimson lehua wreaths of Pele. The name represents the blending of Kawena's two heritages, Polynesian and American. The Hawaiian part of the name tells of Kawena's ancestral ties to Pele, Hawaii's most awesome goddess of the volcano. Pa'ahana Kanakaole, Kawena's full-blooded Hawaiian mother, was descended from a sacred line of kahuna, or priests of Pele. Kawena's English names were given by her New England father. Henry Nathaniel Wiggin had voyaged to the Pacific in 1892 from Salem, Massachusetts. In this rare turn-of-the-century portrait, Kawena's family is gathered on the lanai of their Big Island home. Her parents are on the upper right, and that 6-year-old Kawena in the chair with her pet goat, Nancy, nearby. To say that one is a child of Ka'u is the highest compliment among ourselves, Kawena has written. Here, all people are of one ohana, or extended family, the district of Ka'u on the island of Hawaii. This vast land with its lava-strewn coasts, wind-swept plains, and majestic slopes of Mauna Loa is the most forbidding and spiritual of Hawaiian places. This remote land of volcanoes teems with visible symbols of its primordial past. Kawena's roots are here. Among the stupendous earth drama of eruptions, fissures, and flame, this is the magnificent theater that textured her early sense of Hawaiianness. To tell Kawena's story, we journey there with two women who have deeply shared Kawena's reverence for Hawaiian culture.
I found this letter that Kawena had written to her friend, and it's almost like a travelogue, and it tells of the different places of interest to visit when one goes to Ka'u, and it starts...
Patience Namaka Bacon, Kawena's hānai, or adopted daughter, and Eleanor Williamson, Kawena's longtime research assistant. Like sisters, Pat and Ellie have a 30-year relationship centered around their work with Kawena at Honolulu's Bernice Pauahi Bishop Museum.
This is what she said: just a friendly warning, wear nothing red when you go along the beaches of Ka'u, It is an offense to the great shark god Kua.
Kat, Kawena and I came in 1959. Uncle Willie was driving along this roadway, and Kawena looked Mauka, and tears started to run down her eyes, her face. She said not a word. It was only later that I found out from her. She was very touched that she came back to Ka'u. And Uncle Willie and she talked about the various mountains. We'd just come back from Puna, and she had been recorded with Olu Konanui. They had a marvelous time, both of them, riddling. They both.
She loved riddling.
They were always taunting each other. They were skilled. He was skilled. She was skilled. Not once did she ever say, "Kuailo," or "I give up," or he said, "Kuailo, I don't understand." They just batting riddles back and forth. I wonder who else riddles nowadays.
I haven't heard it for years.
It really is a great verbal art.
No trip to Ka'u was complete for Kawena without a visit to Kalai, South Point, to see the old and sacred spots.
It's like that proverb, Ka'u aina kua makani. The wind always blows over the back of Ka'u. Pat, this is Palahemo, where Kawena says that we can see all of Ka'u from the Kona boundary all the way over to Puna. This is her birth sand.
It was on a day just like this. It was quite windy and dry and dusty that I first came down here to Palahemo with Kawena, and she wrapped her head up in a scarf. And when we asked her, "Why did you do that?" and she said, "Never mind." So we came down here and the dust was blowing, and she showed us Palahemo. Then we got back in the car and went up to Manuka Park. And then we put our hands up to our hair like this, and we looked down, and it was just covered with dust. And so she said, "Now you know why I did that."
And she said we had to come to see this famous pool of Palahemo. It's famous in songs and chants of Ka'u.
I wonder if there are any opai in there.
I think I see some red opai.
After the dry trek to Palahemo, Kawena could always find Hawaiian hospitality and aloha at the house of her old friend and Big Island host, Uncle Willie Meineke.
I remember one early morning in July of 1959. Kawena and I were at Uncle Willie's home in Waiuhinu. Kawena gently awakened me to follow her to the front lanai. She gestured east at the brilliant sunrise. The sky was acquiring a rosy glow. "I love my name," she said. "I am named for that rosy glow."
Kawena's role as cultural guardian seemed a sacrament at birth. Respecting ancient Hawaiian custom, her generous haole father allowed Kawena to be given in hānai adoption to her grandmother, Nali'i Po'aimoku, called Po'ai. It was this commanding woman, descended from the priestly lines of the gods Lono and Pele, who would transmit the old traditions, rituals, and religious mysteries to Kawena. These were her lullabies. Until Po'ai's death when Kawena was 6, the pair lived in a little house like this near her parents in Na'alehu. As punahele, or favorite child, Kawena would serve as keeper of the family history and lore. Po'ai spoke only Hawaiian to the keiki, child, transmitting her knowledge as a healing kahuna and sharing her great talents in the art of hula. Imagine the young Kawena hanging on to every trembling word of Po'ai's account of the family's ancient burial tradition. At the death of Kawena's great-grandmother, Keli'i Pa'ahana, the family embarked on a somber midnight journey to the fiery pits of the volcano. In the manner prescribed by Pele, the bones were cleansed and wrapped in red and black kapa or bark cloth and tossed into the burning caldera, accompanied by prayers and chants. In the early 1900s, the Wiggins moved to Honolulu. Kawena, along with other Hawaiian and Chinese girls, attended missionary schools. Kawena was in the class of 1910 here at Kauai Seminary in Manoa Valley, now Mid-Pacific Institute. As was the custom, pupils were taught using the Bible as textbook, and all classes were in English. Although speaking Hawaiian was forbidden, Kawena delighted in reciting the old stories to her friends in Hawaiian. Her reputation as a skilled interpreter of her people's language began to grow. In 1937, Kawena began what would be a productive 25-year relationship with Bishop Museum. In this very office, over 5 decades ago, Kawena began her artful recording and translating of Hawaiian materials. In 1935, the 40-year-old Kawena made her first official field trip for the museum. Kawena served as translator for anthropologist E.S. Handy and his wife Elizabeth. The adventuresome Dr. Handy had met a soulmate in Kawena, and the pair began a remarkable collaboration. That summer, Kawena and the Handys set out to know the ways of the old Hawaiians on Kawena's home island of Hawaii. They crisscrossed the sun-scorched desert of Ka'u, interviewing Hawaiians, many of whom were Kawena's own relatives. At night, in the isolated country, the Handys bunked in the dusty vehicle, while Kawena snuggled in a tiny cot tent beside the car. For the first time, the traditions of the Hawaiians had been interpreted in their own language, style, and understandings. On her many field trips, Kawena proved to be an expert scholar herself. She began to accumulate hundreds of Hawaiian words, idioms, and proverbs.
She wrote on notes on things like this, bits of paper. Now, this is an envelope, and I can't throw it away because she's got notes there. She'd tear out little scraps of paper, and she wrote on flaps of envelopes. So if one picked this up this way, one would say, well, this is just a bit of rubbish, and throw it out. But we have to open everything out because she has all her precious notes there. I think one of the primary reasons that she was interested in getting this dictionary done is that she, working here at the museum, she had done lots of translations, and she had always said that the material here in this library, it would take at least 2 of her lifetimes to make a dent in what was here. So she felt that the translators of the future would need something like this, and this is the finished product. And she worked on the dictionary with Dr. Elbert, who was once her pupil. She taught him Hawaiian.
Kawena's passionate determination to preserve the Hawaiian language was realized in 1957.
I felt that it was really her dictionary and that I was more or less a technician. She was very clever. Her knowledge of English was wonderful. And she was so willing to cooperate with haoles or with anybody. People were constantly calling her up for questions. She had to name almost anything, lots of children, lots of streets. She said she'd never named a pig. I think she wanted to. She was full of poetry. And we filled the dictionary with quotations from songs and chants and sayings. She was so ahead of her times. She saw what people would be interested in a generation or two later. I just can't get over my admiration for her and for the extreme width, breadth of her interests and capabilities and talents.
Kawena's role of kumu teacher was not limited to her work at the museum. Her bustling home life was itself a laboratory of Hawaiiana. Just as Po'ai had taught Kawena, Kawena taught her two hānai daughters, patience, faith, and later, her natural daughter, Pele, all the skills, crafts, and lore of her people.
I grew up with the hula, as it was always part of our family. We would work together doing the hula. So she did the chanting and the drumming, and I did the dancing. And that way we worked, well, like a team. In the evenings, we would all gather together, and Kawena and her mother, they would reminisce and tell stories of when each one was growing up, and then interspersed with that would be some dances or chanting.
In this 1935 film, Kawena's mother, Pa'ahana, demonstrates Hawaiian string games as Kawena performs a sitting hula.
I believe that her fondness for children and in teaching them was one way of perpetuating Hawaiian culture, just as her grandmother had taught her. She taught them little sayings and riddles in Hawaiian, little dances with the little sticks and pebbles, and she also taught them to do string figures. She composed many, many songs for children, and she did love children's songs. Clarice Taylor used to come and pick Kawena up, and they would go for little rides. And once they went out to Hanauma, and while she was there, she was inspired to write a song. So when she got home, she brought her paper and pencil out and started to compose the song. And that's how Hanauma came to be.
Technology soon provided Kawena with a fitting tool with which to preserve the lively interviews she conducted with Hawaiians, the tape recorder.
I am now exchanging knowledge with those interested in Hawaiian themselves, their thinking pattern, the why of some of their behavior. I tell them of the old, and they tell me of the new, and together we learn. I like to learn, even if I am over 70.
Kawena would carry a 3-ring binder like this on our field trips. She would never pick up a pencil while she was recording. She was always interested in what they were saying. And only after we left the people did she open up her binder and jot down notes from what had occurred. Her eyes would glisten, she'd look at me, and I said, well, something's happening here. And what she did was tap my knee, kuli kuli, be quiet. And I did. What she was trying to do in recording is to get the opinions and the thoughts of others.
The culmination of Kawena's lifelong scholarly dedication to Hawaii is symbolized by the recent publication of her luminous book, Olelo No'eau, Hawaiian Proverbs and Poetical Sayings. The volume was published by the Bishop Museum Press, aided with a grant from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Eleanor Williamson served as senior editor.
These striking prints by Big Island artist Dietrich Varese illustrate some of the proverbs of Mary Kawena Pukui. This one, Hele no ka'ala, hele no kalima. The rock goes, the hand goes. To make good poi off of taro, the free hand must work in unison with the poi pounder. Keep both hands going to do good work.
The book is perhaps the loveliest testament ever made to the Hawaiian spirit.
Kama'ilio kavaha, hana kalima. Let the mouth talk while the hands work.
Kawena's sparkling interpretation of Hawaiian humor, her skill in deciphering the metaphoric, deeply layered shadows of Hawaiian speech.
He hale ke kino no kamana'o. The body is a house for the thoughts.
Make this book her gift of aloha to all the people of Hawaii. The book's publication was celebrated with a glorious tribute to Kawena in the regal Hawaiian Hall of Bishop Museum.
It was a very warming evening to see so many people gather to pay tribute to Kawena and tell of their own experiences with this woman who always helped.
Aloha, I'm Bill Kaiva, and I want to share my many, many wonderful experiences with Kawena, because she was the one that made me sing the Hawaiian songs the correct way. And I have many, many beautiful memories with this wonderful person.
That evening, the people who performed did it with such love that the feeling was something that is hard to describe because it was just so beautiful. And everybody gave so lovingly.
I first met Kawena Pukui. I was very, very impressed with Kawena. This lovable, kind, soft-spoken person, so knowledgeable in things Hawaiian, and so happy to share what she knew with us. I was greatly enriched by what I heard her say and what I learned from her.
Tutu Kawena is frail these days, and she wasn't able to come that night to the beautiful party in her honor, but I went to see her the next day. I took her all the many leis friends had brought, and draped on her portrait. And I placed them all around her neck. And she looked at me, and I put this book down in front of her, and she read, Olelo no Eo, Mary Kawena Pukui. That evening here, I just enjoyed the tribute with others, but to hear her finally and to see her and hold the book and read her the title in her name. So she held the book and started to turn the pages, and she got to the section A, here, this one. She said, "He kanaka kanumai'a," a man planting a banana. She said what it is. And she started to read. These were little, very short ones, like ahu ili kau. And then she would translate this. And she went on. Sometimes she missed a word. I just fill it in, and she'd fill it out. And she said, "This is a good book." I said that that evening, I enjoyed everyone, but that evening, that day when I visited Kawena, really, my tears ran unchecked. She was holding something, her big book.
Because I know my mother's language, I've enjoyed exchanging thoughts with other Polynesians to discover our likenesses and our differences. And because I know my father's, I can explain to others what we have had here and lost, and what we still retain. Knowledge, to me, is life. Ua mau kea o ka aina I ka pono.
This week on Spectrum Hawaii, 2 Hawaiian artists express themselves in contemporary images and attitudes. Educators strive to perpetuate Hawaiian culture by teaching the language. But first, the pageantry of the Pa'u rider.
I think ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a Pa'u rider. Some people want to be Miss America, and I always wanted to be a Pa'u rider.
Pa'u is the Hawaiian word for skirt. No one knows exactly when Hawaii's horsewomen began wearing the long pa'u.
I believe from the research that I've done on pa'u riding that it evolved as a dust cover first for the women. Hawaiian women learned to ride astride. They didn't learn to ride side saddle as most English women did. And so they had these long dresses, holokua, holomu'u, and they had to have something to cover them up when they rode.
The use of the pa'u was noted as early as the 1850s. One person wrote how straddling their horses, The women would ride with their legs enswathed in long folds of gaudy materials, galloping, greeting friends, laughing, and vanishing in clouds of dust.
Hawaiian women loved to race, and they also were demure riders when they had to be. But when they were going to elegant affairs, it's documented that they raced across the plains.
One of their favorite places was at the base of Diamond Head Crater.
Well, Kapi'olani Park, once it was dedicated, became the hub of horse racing.
The women rode with great enjoyment in official parades or just Sunday jaunts. The first pa'u skirts were made of about 20 yards of brightly colored floral material. Today's pa'u uses 12 yards.
Pa'u draping is an art. You learn it from someone else who's learned it from someone else and who's learned it from someone else, and it's just a handed down type of thing. And you're going to learn it because you're interested in it and you're interested in its perpetuation.
Instead of the long holoku dress, today's women wear riding pants and boots. But some things never change. As it was done for the past 100 years, kukui nuts are still used to fasten the pa'u.
It wouldn't work if you had safety pins or Velcro at this point. It just wouldn't hold. The nut, which is encased in the material, is tucked under the waistband, and it just sticks there. We tease our riders a lot because we have to pull the waistband very, very tight. They have to suck in their stomach, and then we tie it. And when they exhale, it really is tight. And then we put these 6 kukui nuts, tuck them in, and we tell them that when the parade is over and they take it off and they've got 6 black and blue marks, we did it right.
The cape is velvet for the queen and the princesses, and satin for the attendants adorned with ribbons for the leis. Each pa'u unit has 7 riders, a banner page, the princess, 3 attendants, and 2 escorts.
Each woman receives a pa'u skirt and a kepolo, which is the capelet. The men are supplied with a bow tie and a sash in appropriate colors for their unit.
For Oahu, it's gold. Big Island, red. Maui is pink. Molokai, green. Kauai is purple. Lanai wears orange. Ni'ihau wears brown. And Ko'olawe is in blue. The queen wears green this year. The design and making of the leis brings individuality to each unit. Over the years, many prominent women have been pa'u riders, some as queens, some as attendants. In 1938, composer-musician Irmgard Aluli, a young teacher in Molokai, was asked to try out for the island's pa'u unit. The morning of the Kamehameha Day parade, the unit went to select their horses.
The others arrived there, selected their horses, and our main rider, whom we call our head princess, we were outriders for her. She was the last one to get there that day, and there was this least desirable horse left.
Irmgard gave the princess her big white horse and rode the nag.
And I'm going along and I see some of my friends, hey, Irmgard, in those days you could call out to the, to the pa'u rider, hey, Irmgard, what kind of horse you got? Real plug here? Yeah, this sure is. And I'd laugh and the horse would go on the side. I made a joke of it, which was the only thing to do.
In schools and community centers, workers gathered the week before to assemble thousands of flowers into stunning parade leis.
Right now we're doing our lei sessions. This is our second night of lei sessions, and today we're actually putting the horse leis together.
All the flowers are wired and they're bundled together, and so it takes a special technique so that when they're going down 4 miles of parade, the thing's not falling apart as they go.
The base of the lei is 3 burlap bags rolled together and tied with string. I started as a pa'u rider in the 1970s, the early 70s. And I am a participant because that is how I feel I perpetuate my Hawaiian culture.
Long before the crowds arrive, the women are in a school cafeteria getting dressed.
We started at 10 last night on our hair. In our hair pieces, we have white shells with uki grass, koa pods and lauhala roses that we've made by hand, and wood roses.
I'm representing Molokai, and what I have in my hair is oogie grass, ferns, and mums, baby's breath.
I have pink roses, pink straw flowers, baby red tea leaves.
For Healani, this is her time, what she has been working for these past weeks and past parades.
Right now I feel very comfortable. I'm at that point where I'm just ready to get on that street and all the way down to Kapi'olani Park. I'm ready.
The crowds are pleased by the pageantry and the beauty of the Pa'u rider. And for a moment, time drifts back to when the women of Hawaii rode horses and wore the Pa'u.
Basically, I'm a painter, I'm a sculptor, and I'm a poet. And that's what I am.
In my frame of reference, as long as I'm a living Hawaiian or part Hawaiian person of Hawaiian ancestry, the art that I produce is, of course, contemporary Hawaiian art.
One of the reasons why we use the term contemporary now is because since the interruption of our culture from the time of contact, and more especially from the time of breaking the kapu, things Hawaiian were thought to be from a particular period. I believe that this has more to do with colonialism and racism, i.e. people who have been colonized and or conquered, their cultures kind of end right there as far as history is concerned, and that anything they do beyond the contact point becomes really not native anymore.
A contemporary Hawaiian artist, in my definition, is an artist of Hawaiian ancestry practicing art in a very contemporary mode. It can be differentiated from a traditional artist because traditional artists tend to maintain traditions, and they maintain traditions by replicating artwork or art styles. That's very important. In other words, we all need to know where we've come from, what our past is. But a contemporary artist takes that evolution one step further. It's important to understand this in terms of the evolution of a culture, because what tends to happen is a lot of people study cultures, they tend to pigeonhole cultures and freeze them in time. If you freeze that culture in time, you're basically saying that there is no evolution. And the reality is everything evolves. Hawaiian art is continuing to evolve. And as long as there's a living Hawaiian person, you're going to have, contemporary Hawaiian art being produced. Because it's still Hawaiian culture, whether you want to believe in traditional arts or contemporary arts of that culture.
When I look at my art and what I'm doing with all the different medias I work in, I am a 2,000-year-old Hawaiian. Like all people who come from a culture, I am an end result now of that total sum. I'm able to deal in my paintings with using the notion of, in Hawaiian language, there's a thing called kauna, because we Hawaiians have a multi-leveled language. We are able to say several things at one time. As I started to develop my abstract form, I started to realize, hey man, this is like my language. I can deal with kauna. I can talk about several different things. My abstractions have to do with Hawaiian philosophy. It has to do with how we look at things. Birthing is a favorite theme of mine. I do a lot of stuff that has to do with hanau, aina, hanau mana. Because for me, as a Hawaiian, I look back and say, what's really one of the most important things to us as a people? Well, birth, life. We were interested in life. We were interested in keeping things going. And when I look at what we call contemporary Hawaiian art now, that's what we're doing. As I started to develop my form, one of the things I had to do was I had to step back into my history. I had to understand what I was as a Hawaiian. It was important for me to know the technology of making a stone adze. Not that I'll ever use them, because it's just too slow for me. But it was important for me to do that. And what happened when I did that was that it made me more pa'a with my background. It was important for me to know the old craftsmanship in order for me to be pono with what I am doing now. It was important for me because it made me a better Hawaiian. If you see some of my sculptures, you'll notice that some of them are made of wicker and steel and insulation wire, and along with hair and bone and feathers and all of this other stuff.
This binding technique lashes pieces together to create a three-dimensional image. And the lash actually keeps the piece together, and over time, the joint actually gets stronger because of the compound miter cuts. The faces of the woods basically rest on one another and are held in place by the angle of the cut.
I grew up in a very Hawaiian house. You don't look at stone, you don't step on stone, you don't talk to it, you don't feed it, you don't do nothing with it. You just leave it alone. I know where that came from. That came from the early days of Christianity, where stone, because stone was a very, very important thing to us. Because what is stone? Stone is like the second stage of life. The first stage was liquid. You know, and stone was the forms of our deities. So during the Christian overthrow of the old, stones were one of the first things we had to do away with.
A number of years ago, when I was doing a lot of metal casting, I was real interested in some of the natural pohaku, the natural stones that exist in Hawaii. And I started to experiment with the casting of solid aluminum sculptures, pieces. And I found that by varying the temperatures of the pieces, the pour, I was able to get different densities in the aluminum that actually replicated pohaku. I use the pohaku because there are spirits that exist, and a lot of the pieces that I have with the pohaku are actually pieces that talk about the spirit that is within must never die, meaning that this creative spirit, you know, or being Hawaiian or being who you are, you know, has got to always continue to be there and to happen.
All cultures have something to offer. Come and enjoy what we have to offer. But don't take it, because it's not yours, it's ours. And if we don't have control of what is ours, then we have nothing to give. And likewise, you have nothing to receive.
Ka manawa a'u e hele i ke kula. I loko ke kula a lihiki mākou ke olelo Hawaiʻi. Papa I mai le mākou, makemake lākou ia mākou e olelo Hawaiʻi, olelo haolu ale no. Aloha kakahiaka e nā moʻopuna.
Aloha e kūpuna kawahi paula.
Pehe o ko ke I kakahiaka?
Maikaʻi.
Maikaʻi. No leila ke la e hana ana kākou I ka la I Apolima.
Mai ka makahiki ʻumikumawalu kanai wakumaono ua hoʻopapa ia ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. He ʻelua kaukani poʻe mana leo I koe. He mau kaukani poʻe e ʻaʻo ana, e ʻaʻo mai ana I ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi.
Ma ke kula kaiapuni o Waiau, ke kahi kula kaiapuni o ʻelua ma o ahu nei, ke ʻaʻo mai nei nā keiki I nā kumuhana like ʻole mai ka pī a pā a ka ike no e au e pili ana no nā mea ola ma ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi wale noa. Ua hoʻomaka ia I ka makahiki o ʻumikumaiwa kana walukumahiku, a ua hoʻokē nā mākua a me nā kumu I nā alaina, no laila, hiki ka lākou mau keiki ke ʻaʻo mai ko lākou ʻōlelo ōiwi.
O ka mea paʻakiki loa e hana ai, ka hoʻohana ʻana me ka hana ʻana I ka unuhi puke na haʻawina na mea like ʻole. Ua oʻolea haʻawi, kokoke wau haʻawi pio. I nā ʻole kākou hana I keia, make ana ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi, make loa. Nā keiki hoʻokaiapuni ia, I nā hoʻokuku, hoʻohālikelike ia me nā keiki o ma nā papa ʻōlelo haole, papa ʻōlelo Pelekania. Ua like pū ko lāua holomua ana.
Ua noho kēia mau haumāna mai ka papa e hiku mai ke kinohi o ke kula kaiapuni. I ka makahiki o ʻumikumaiwa kanaiwa kumaiwa, ia lākou e hoʻopuka ana, o lākou ka mua loa e hoʻopuka ana ma ke ʻaʻo ana mai ma o ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi wale noa. Ma mua o ka hoʻomaka ia ana o ke kula kaiapuni e ke DOE, ua hoʻomaka ke kahi mau mākua I ka pūnana leo I ka makahiki o ʻumikumaiwa kana walu kumalima. He wahi no ke ʻaʻo ana I ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi wale noa no nā kamaliʻi.
O ke ia ka honua poepoe, ea? Ke ia ka honua poepoe, hiki oi ke noho I lala na ke a pahiki ke I. Li'i wale no o Hawaiʻi. Aia mawaina o ke kai pakipika.
Nā pepe a kako e hānai ia nei ma o ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. Oia no ke ola o ka ʻōlelo. No laila ua hoʻomaka ia nā kula punana leo I ʻumi makahiki aku nei. Me ka pahu hopu e hoʻoikaika ai, e hoʻola ai ka ʻōlelo. Ma o nā keiki, ma o nā ʻohana. He mea kahaha. No ka mea mamua ʻaʻohe keiki ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. Ta poʻi kupuna wale noa.
E te la mau makahiki lili, apokoke laku ma ka ʻaʻo ana ka ʻōlelo. A pono mako hoʻomau ka ʻōlelo ana, mai ʻōlelo, ka ʻōlelo haole ma ke ipu. Ka mea maʻane I ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi wale ni. Pono mako hoʻohana ke la I nā lā apu.
I kia manawa, nui nā keiki mamake e hoʻokomo I ke kula, a ka ʻaʻole hiki, no ka mea ʻaʻole lava ke kala, ʻaʻole hiki ke kula. I kia manawa, he kana kolu keiki I loko I kia kula. A ka e hoʻokomo makahiki pākahi ʻumikumakolu wale no. No laila, he mea nui, he mea Makemake mako e ho'okomo na keiki a pau a ka aliki. Ina makemake ke keiki e hele ana, hiki ke hele. A ka kia manawa, ale lava, ke kula e ale lava, ke kumu ale lava, na limahana e hana i loko i ke kula.
Mai ka a'a, mai ke kumu, mai ka pua, mai ke kumu.
Nele mau nā kula ma nā mokopuni a pau i nā kumu ole. Hiki ke olelo Hawaiʻi. A ka, nā kupuna e kōkua i ke a'o mai ana o nā keiki a ho'omau ka hā o Hawaiʻi.
No leila ke paila nei ka mea ke i wainiu me ka he'e, waiuniu me ka he'e. A mahape ho'okomo, hea ke ia? Mai o lua. Hea ke ia? Kokani mai lua. Leila.
Mea ko'i ke kupuna no ka mea maka nana ana iaia hiki ke hahai iaia. I kona ano, kona aloha, kona mali e apela aku. Oia ho'i, he mea maika i ke kupuna ma ke kula no ka mea loa ke keiki, loa ka makua, a ma ke ano he Hawaiʻi pono no e loa ke kai kupuna. Lako e kolu ma ke kula. A ole haumana wale no, a ole kumu wale no. Aka kohu mea he ohana ke ia. Ale kohu mea he ohana ke ia.
Lako ke nana mai ia o, ke ano kupuna maoli au no lako. So how oli lako. Ne ale o hele mai ke kula o kahila, ke kahila e hele mai. Au, e hea oe, mahea oe i hele. Ke la ano, ni nau mai la. Oh, ha'a au mako ia oe no kumu. No ka mea ma kuhewa maka ua ha'alele oe.
Ha'a pono, mai ke kauhana me ke ia, mana. Ke?
A oa ia lako ka hana pono, ka oia hoi. Nā me pono, leke me ka aloho aku, aloho mai. Lau lima aku, lau lima mai, ke la ano ia. I lokahi kana ono o ana, ke la ano. Ke la ka mea nui a kako. Iki aku, iki mai me ka mai ka ia.
I kela me ke ia makahiki, loi loi ia na kula kaya puni. Ke holo mua nei lako me na haawina like ole. Nalele, a ohe o mako hopo hopo. He mea haaheo wale no.
O nā kumu mua oia hoi nā mako. No laila ua ho'omaka wau i ke ia papa no nā makua i hiki ole ke olelo Hawaiʻi. Maka'u lako e olelo Hawaiʻi. Maka'u lako no ka mea a ole makemake e olelo i ka hewa. A kano nae, ua olelo wau ia lako, ua hai wau ia lako mai hopo hopo. Hewa kako apau. Hewa wau. He mea ole i nā ho'ouna na keiki ke kula kaya puni wale no, a ole na makua e ole Hawaiʻi. Mea ole ke la. Olelo ia, i nā hana like ma ka hale a ma ke kula, he mea hoi kaika no na keiki. E holomua na lako.
Ke wa, ka haki i mua oi ke la, leila hana oi kia. E like me kāna wahine, hihia o Kamoa e wā i ke a'o aku ana i ka olelo Hawaiʻi me na ano like ole.
It's time now for Hawaii Public Radio's Hawaiian language newscast, Ke Aulama.
Hinehine, ua loa ke kino make o ke kahi wahine.
Ko mana he mea nui ke ia, he kuleana nui ke ia I loa Yamako na Hawaiʻi. Ke hiki ana Yamako ke ho'olele I ka nuhou ma ka olelo Hawaiʻi.
In 1993, Al Hulson, the general manager of Hawaii Public Radio, decided to give it a try. He thought the idea sounded good, and he said we could put it together and see if we could get it started. And he was good enough to even start it without any sponsorship. So we first went on the air January 31st, 1994. Although the newscast is only 5 minutes long, it takes hours to put it together. To begin with, a handful of University of Hawaii students, graduate and undergraduate students, sit down and select the news stories from the morning paper, from the AP Radio Wire, decide what's going to be in the news. Then instead of translating a story literally into Hawaiian, they read the story, digest it, decide what the story is all about, what the main thrust is, and then rewrite it into the Hawaiian language. And then the whole mass of stories, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 stories each day, are edited, and Kamawai Wak does all of the editing, which is nice because he spends a lot of time working with old Hawaiian newspapers, and he has more of a feel for media use of the Hawaiian language.
Oia ki kahi hana a mākou, oia hoi ka haku ana i ki kahi mau hua o lelo, hou. Ke alami ki a la, e pono ana mākou e haku i ki kahi mau hua o lelo hou. He mea mei ka i ke ia no ka mea, me ki a haku ana, ua hiki a mākou ke hoa kea i ka o lelo Hawaiʻi. I ki e mau la, ua hiki ke kuka e pili ana i ki kahi mau mea, i loa ole nā hua o lelo mamua.
A ole hiki a mākou, ke kū me ka haʻaheo, a noʻonoʻo he Hawaiʻi au, ina a ole I maupopo leʻa, ka manaʻo nā kupuna. Ko mākou mau moʻolelo, o waila mākou ka poʻe Hawaiʻi. Ina a ohe o lelo, he ahala, a ole he Hawaiʻi. A manaʻo iʻo, oia no ke kāhua o mākou.
Spectrum Hawaii has been funded in part by the Hawaii State Foundation on Culture and the Arts.